First of all, let me just start by saying one thing, that I want to thank you all for your interest in animals. It's really beautiful to be up here and see so many people that care about animals. We do not have enough people that care about animals, so thank you for your dedication. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Roberto Bonelli. I have been a full-time animal rights activist for 11 years now. I've organized for several various animal rights groups, and I started my own group in 2014 called the Animals Battalion, and I work primarily in New York City. And through this group, I've tackled a variety of issues. We've done protests against fur, we've done advocacy for veganism. We used to protest Ringling Brothers, but fortunately, the circus has been banned. Yes, and they also went bankrupt. We also tend to work a lot on companion animal issues. And every summer we have protests against the Bacchanal and Yulin festivals, which are dog and cat meat eating festivals. And we do these in solidarity with activists from those countries that are also fighting against this trade themselves. We also have attended animal abuse cases, and we've done this because by having an activist presence in the courtroom, it keeps the story alive, it puts emphasis on the animal victims, and it allows us to liaison with the media, and it allows us to issue the animal advocacy decision that animal abuse has to be dealt with severely. So one of the other companion animal issues that we've worked on that is very close to my heart is the issue of declawing. Now, we were fortunate to have declawing officially banned in the state of New York on July 22nd of this year. So let me just say out right off the top, I want to give credit where credit is due. A huge part of this victory came from Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal, who sponsored the bill and was a champion for it. She has been consistent on animal issues. She's always pushing legislation. She's always supporting all sorts of animal advocacy. So she was a huge factor in our win. Now, the other major player in getting declawing banned in New York was the Paw Project. Now, the Paw Project is an organization run by a veterinarian named Jennifer Conrad and her partner, Jim Jensmo. They are the ones that are spearheading the campaign to ban declawing throughout the country. And they're also the premier source for information on the subject of declawing. Now, I also want to say Dr. Conrad has made it her life's work to ban declawing. And not only in this country, but she's actually reached out to Canada, and currently 7 out of 10 provinces in Canada have banned, veterinary associations in Canada have banned declawing. So there's a documentary film with the same name, The Paw Project, which covers the initial creation of the organization and the first legislative progress that was made, which was 7 cities in California that banned it. And since the filming of that documentary, we've also had Denver that's banned it, and just recently the entire state of New York. So as far as my involvement in this, I'm just an animal rights activist who really loves cats. And I have lived with cats almost the entirety of my life. At the moment, I have 7 rescued cats. I am TNR certified, and I volunteer with a local rescue group. Of my 7 cats, half of them I've rescued myself. The other half have come from friends of mine who are rescuers. I'm going to be honest, I'm a foster failure. These were cats that took a little too long to find adopters, and you know how it goes. They eventually become a part of the family, and now they're my kids. So, but I got involved in declawing because, like I said, I really love cats, and I wanted to give back something to these animals that have meant a lot to me. So I actually learned about declawing when I was a child. I bought a book when I was in 4th grade, a children's book on the care of cats. And remarkably, this book had a couple of paragraphs on the topic of declawing. Now, this was back in the 1980s. declawing was, while there was opposition to declawing, it wasn't as organized. It wasn't until Dr. Conrad came along and created the Paul Project that the momentum started growing. At the time, it was opposed, but there wasn't any movement really behind it. So the years went by, and in my early days of activism, I remember sitting with a fellow activist, and it was actually after one of CAF's anti-fur demos. We were sitting having a cup of coffee after the demo, and of course we're both CAF people, so we're talking about different issues, and we're talking about declawing. And I remember telling her, you know, I really wish we could do something about this issue. I really hope I can work on it someday, you know? And I just shrugged my shoulders and I said, you never know. That's the beautiful thing about this vocation that we all share. This is one of the areas in life, probably more than other areas, where you can actually see self-actualization. When we created the Animals Battalion with my colleague at the time, one of the first things that we wanted to do was documentary screenings. And the reason we do that is because we firmly believe that there is activism without education is meaningless. So we wanted to have events where we could present an issue, present qualified speakers, and then create a call to action. And we did this with screenings on the circus, we did this on screenings on ocean mammal killings, we showed the code. So we were fortunate enough, the very last screening that we did was in 2016. We screened the Paul Project, and we were able to get Assemblywoman Rosenthal, who had created the bill, to come and speak directly about her bill. And we were able to get the two New York State representatives of the Paul Project, Dr. Susan Wittrig and Dr. Alan Simon, to come directly and address the public's questions about declawing. What this was an attempt to get the ball rolling, to get the spark going in declawing, and the event went fantastic. Basically, I just took an issue I cared about, I was enthusiastic about, I took the ball and I ran with it. And the thing about declawing is that it's a very niche movement. We all kind of know each other in the declawing movement. It's basically a couple of cat enthusiasts and a handful of rescuers, but it doesn't get a lot of support from the overall animal rights movement, and that's really a shame. So I want to take a moment and discuss what declawing is. It's called anti-declawing. And what the AVMA, the American Veterinary Medical Association, tells you is that it's a painless process that is done to prevent cats from scratching furniture. That's basically the issue. It's pet owners that want to curb this problem. What they're not telling you, and what the vets have had the courage to go against the veterinary medical associations will tell you, is that it is medically unnecessary amputation. When you take the human beings, our nails grow from the skin. With a cat, the claw comes from the bone. So the only way to remove it is to sever the digit from the knuckle down. So if you go by the table, you'll see I have these bumper stickers. Please feel free to take one from the Paul Project. And they show a human hand missing the tips. That's exactly what amputation is. That's exactly what declawing is. It's amputation. Now there's a further problem. It's that felines are digitigrade. They walk on their toes. By removing the tips of their toes, you're sentencing them to a lifetime of pain. Yeah. Another unfortunate result of amputation is behavioral issues happen. So what happens is you have a pet owner who simply thought, okay, well the furniture is getting scratched. We have this problem. Well, now you've created an animal that's in constant pain. Claws are a feline's first line of defense. When you remove the claw, the secondary tool is their teeth, their claw, their fangs. What happens then, and I'm sure those of you who are rescuers know, that a cat bite is far worse than a scratch. That's where you get your risk of infection because the saliva that's in the tooth goes into the bloodstream. So now you have an animal that has lost its primary way, its warning shot. It's in constant pain. You have aggression issues. You've taken a problem that was simply just cat scratching, which could be solved humanely and in various ways, and you've elevated it. One of the other side effects of declawing is that because the animal is in pain, it does not eliminate in the litter box. This is a far worse problem with scratched up furniture. So we now have a cat that the person now has a more severe problem. You have a cat that is exhibiting behavioral issues stemming from pain. And unless you have a cat guardian that is remorseful, that truly does care for the cat, and is now willing to be the guardian of a crippled special needs cat, what usually happens is that this animal gets abandoned. And I don't have to tell those of you who are rescuers that we have a tremendous unwanted animal problem in this country. We do not need anything that increases that. So I mentioned also that declawing is a niche movement. And this is something that we have to address in animal rights. Declawing is an ethical issue. What we're saying is that these companion animals that are part of the family, these animals that we give our surnames to, these animals that we take and we put in the family picture, we're saying that we can just chop them up. That's a huge ethical problem. It is unethical to declaw a cat. It is unethical to devocalize a dog. It is unethical to do anything to an animal that alters their physical structure without a valid medical or ethical reason. To do so for human convenience goes against everything that animal rights believes in. Animal rights is about acknowledging the individuality of all creatures. It's about being mindful of their capacity to suffer and taking into consideration their interests. Unnecessary medical amputation goes against all of that. It is the highest form of human arrogance. A bear, a raccoon, or a pigeon that wanders too close to human dwellings, a cat that scratches, or a dog that barks is becoming an inconvenience in our society. It's no longer viewed as behaviors that are part of the natural world. It's no longer a problem that we have to work around to solve. It becomes something that doesn't satisfy or bring any benefit. That is called anthropocentrism. That's the heart of the problem with every animal or environmental problem that we face. That's what we try to bring to attention in my organization, the Animals Battalion. There are many interpretations of animal rights, but at the end of the day, this has to be an ethical movement. It doesn't matter whether you do rescue, it doesn't matter whether you do protesting, it doesn't matter whether you do legal activism. Whatever you do in this vocation that we all share, the one thing we have to have in common is our ethics, and they have to be on point. As an ethical movement, we have to have a clear understanding of what is right and what is wrong, and what is respectful to animals that share this world with us. Declawing is horrific. It is an example of the ultimate commodification of animals. Another problem that declawing creates is that it fosters cognitive dissonance. If we as a society can just chop up members of our family, then we open the doors to all sorts of logical inconsistencies, and we see this in other areas. We see this among conservationists who advocate the killing of animals and refer to hunts as managed harvests, as if they were apple picking. The eroding of ethics is what we fight against as animal advocates. Now, some people theorize that declawing started with vivisection, with vivisectors who wanted to have a more manageable animal. I don't know. I don't know if that's how it started. But it is an issue which is emblematic of the erosion of values and respect for the well-being of animals. There's a lot to talk about declawing, and I can't do a deep dive on the subject in an abbreviated manner. What I will say is that I chose an issue that I felt passionate about, and I followed it through. Now, recently we've seen victories. Macy's and Bloomingdale's will stop selling fur. The Ring Brothers shut down in 2017. In my group, in the Animals Battalion, we waged a campaign, and we did it with a local rabbit rescue group against Whole Foods. Whole Foods had tried to introduce rabbit meat. The idea was that they wanted to give another market to it, they wanted to sell it as another alternative. And we really didn't get a lot of support from the overall movement. People thought it was too much of a single issue topic, it was just one animal. I thought it was terribly unfair. The rabbit guardians, obviously, it hurt them. So we waged the campaign with very little support. 2 years later, we won. We were part of a small coalition of groups that fought it. But you know what? To this day, I still have very good friends in the rabbit rescue community. On the subject of declawing, I have never stopped condemning it at every opportunity I've had, every tabling event I had, every rescue event I had, any fundraiser for cats or for dogs or for anything. I have always had declawing information on the table. In 2018, I held a protest in Tarrytown, New York, outside the conference of the New York State Veterinary Medical Society, because of their continued efforts to shoot down any anti-declawing legislation. And I had this protest in solidarity with Lori Shelper, who runs a blog called City to Kitty, and she's another activist who's devoted her life to fighting declawing. Again, in 2018, I spoke at the Anti-Fur Conference on the subject of declawing. And I have traveled consistently to Albany, the New York capital, to lobby for declawing. And unexpectedly, in June of this year, when I went up there for typical Animal Advocacy Day, we actually got the vote. We went past committee, we went to the floor. And if you go to the Animals Battalion Facebook page, there's live stream video of the vote. I never imagined that I could go from someone who cared about an issue, who wanted to participate, to actually being there when history was made. And again, that's what's really amazing about this vocation that we all share. Now, the last couple of years have been very good to animal rights activists. We've seen the results of years of hard work. Victories don't arrive when we look for them. They arrive because we lower our heads and we keep swinging. We don't look for a victory. We just do it because we fight because it's the right thing to do. I cannot tell you how happy I was on the train ride back from Albany the very next day when it started to sink in that we actually beat this thing and that I had witnessed the beginning of the end of declawing in this country. I sincerely hope I can invite you to share the same euphoric journey. Now, currently there is a bill in New Jersey to ban declawing here. It is sponsored by Senator Troy Singleton, who has been very loyal to this issue. If this gets passed, New Jersey could be the second state to ban declawing. Now, I implore all of you to pass by that table over there. There's information on the bill. There's information on the Paw Project. If we have 2 states that bans this, the momentum is only going to increase. You're only going to empower activists in other states. You're going to they're going to strengthen their resolve, and we're going to win this. This is completely winnable. It's a winnable campaign. Now, I don't want to give a lecture on lobbying because there are many people here who are far more knowledgeable and experienced on the subject of lobbying. But for those of you who have never lobbied before, on the flyer over there, there's a link that tells you, it's a link so you can find your senator and your assembly member. And it's as simple as just contacting them and having a conversation. They depend on your votes, and you care about animals. So what you care about is their concern. And I would suggest that if you can, you do a face-to-face meeting If you can, go in a group. There is a huge pool of people that you can pull from animal rights activists to rescuers to people who have pets. It's limitless. If you're pressed for time, and believe me, I know rescuers are pressed for time. I'm going to give a shout out to the group I volunteer with, the Sawyer Cat Rescue in New York. The lady who runs it takes care of 16 colonies, which are about 100 to 150 cats on a daily basis. So I believe me, I understand some people are pressed for time. You can send a handwritten letter, you can make a phone call, you could shoot an email, you can even Twitter your legislator. It's as simple as that. You can bring up the various talking points that are on the flyer, and you can even bring up the correlation that declawing leads to abandonment, and no legislator will want an increase of unwanted animals in their district. To get you further enthusiastic about this campaign, I would like to organize screenings of the Paw Project here in New Jersey, just like I did in New York. And at these screenings, we would have knowledgeable speakers on the subject. We would have complimentary vegan food, and we would have a donation drive for a local rescue like we did in New York. I'm looking to fight for this bill here in New Jersey, and to get as many of you people active as possible, my fellow animal advocates. I would like to follow up with individual conversations. If anyone is interested in doing this, please reach out to me, contact me. I have connections with the Paw Project. I want to get this done. I want New Jersey to be the second state to ban declawing. For those of you who haven't seen the film The Paw Project, it was early in the declawing movement, and it chronicles the banning of declawing in 8 cities in California. I believe if you see it, you will not only find it educational, but you will find it uplifting as well. Folks, we need to make it illegal to cripple cats in this state. Those of you who rescue, you know how many unwanted animals are in the shelters. We don't need to increase those numbers. We want to advance as an ethical society, and we don't do that when we permit animal abuse. I hope all of you will get behind this bill and make New Jersey the next state. So there's information on that table over there. You can go to thepawproject.org for more information on declawing. You can also go to the Animals Battalion Facebook page or our YouTube page, and there's videos on declawing. There's a lecture by Dr. Conrad at the New York City Bar Association. There's videos, like I said, there's a live stream of the vote. There's my speech at the Anti-Declawing Society of declawing. So I hope you follow up on that. Now, before I go, I want to leave you with one quote. And I think it's really appropriate because we're in church. This is a quote from Bruce Lee. That's right, Bruce Lee, the martial artist, the movie star. You heard that right. What a lot of people don't know is that Bruce Lee was primarily an instructor, and he was also a philosophy major. So what makes his art very effective is that it's very heavily laden with philosophy. So I trained in it a couple of years before I became an activist, and a lot of those concepts work beautifully in activism. So anyway, so he has this one quote that always got my attention, and he said, "Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." As animal advocates, we all face a lot of trials and tribulations in this beautiful vocation we share. It's not an easy path. We face ethical dilemmas, we face the loss of animals, we face indifference, we face hostility. But if we persevere, we can get victories, and we also get to experience great joy. Ladies and gentlemen, I pray that all of you receive the strength you need to accomplish all your endeavors in service to the animals. And I thank you very much for your time.
dedication to helping animals. And thank you for all that you do for the cats and all the animals. You sure?
Thank you so much. This means a lot to me. Barbara, I love you. You're one of my best friends. You've always had my back in activism.
Thank you.
Thank you, really.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank all of you for your work.